So today I received a call from a seller who received a mailer from me, and she called me and she wanted to sell her house. So I sent her a mailer last week, actually. So I date whenever I send someone a letter in the mail, I put the date of when I sent the letter to them. So I sent her something last week. So I looked up her name in my list of people I send mail to, and I sent her something last week. So she is a 90-year old lady. So she wanted to sell her house. So she's selling her house. Okay, so she's selling her house. This seller is 90 years old. Okay, she's 90 years old. She is, of course, she's retired. So, but she's becoming a retired landlord. Okay. So, I was going to just write retired, and I kind of just knew that retired means a retired landlord. But, sometimes I forget I'm teaching here. I'm teaching beginners for the most part. So she's a retired landlord. So that means that she has been a landlord for the last 30 years. So she has this property that she called me about. And also she has several other properties. So her husband was really the real estate person of the two. He was the person that was buying all the real estate, and she was just, she was doing whatever she did, in her career, in her life, and he was the real estate person. So he was interested in real estate. He bought all the real estate, and then they just started living on the real estate after they retired. But he recently died. So she's been a landlord for 30 years. Her husband just died. Husband died. He just died. And so he left her with all these properties here. So he's left her with all these properties here. I think she has like 6 or 7 properties, she said, because she said if everything goes right with this property, she will show me her other properties that she has. So she has 6 or 7 properties. She's 90 years old. She's older. She had someone speaking for her today when she called me. So she called and another person called. So this lady here who's 90, she called me, and she had another person there, probably someone that's related to her. She had this other person speaking for her. You know, really nice lady, nice lady. The 90-year-old lady, she's really nice. The seller, she's the one that owns the properties. The person she had me talking to was, like I said, her relative or something. But her relative was trying to make sure that she wasn't getting scammed, because guess what? The seller received a call from a person wanting to buy her house for $40,000. So someone offered her 40K for her house. So she was offered this recently, $40,000 for a house. And she said that this person who offered her this amount was from out of town. Yeah, I'm kind of using some ghetto grammar here. Out of town. So this person lowballed her. So this person lowballed her. This person is from out of town. And when she told me this, when she gave me these details, I knew that it was a virtual wholesaler. I knew it was, because that's usually who calls these people. They kind of seek out older people, people who have had their properties for a long time, and they try to seek out these older people to try to scam them. They're trying to get over on them. You know what I'm saying? Offering her 40K for this house, and I'll tell you why this is crazy to offer her 40K. Her house is worth about $130,000, and she knows it, and she knows that. So this is how much it's worth. Now it's probably not worth that as it sits, because I have yet to see the inside of it. So she's supposed to be sending me some pictures of the inside, but Zillow and Realtor.com says that the house is worth about 130, and that's probably right. The house is in a great neighborhood, a great neighborhood. It's one of those neighborhoods that are sought out by people, So people are trying to stay in this neighborhood, but they cannot because everyone there is happy with their homes. So the people who own homes in this neighborhood, they're happy there. I rarely see a house for sale in this neighborhood. So it's in a great neighborhood. So the house is, it's probably worth more than this. I didn't really look that much into it because I'm waiting to get the picture of the inside of the house, but it's probably worth 130 after it's fixed up. It's a 2-bed, 2-bath. 2-bed, 1-bath. So 2-bed, 1-bath. So if it was fixed all the way up, it probably will be worth this, so 130. In this city that this house is in, this is a pretty good price. This is a pretty good price. It's not really on the high end. High end in this city would be 250. You know what I mean? Like, I guess that would be kind of the median in this city. So this is the median price of what homes are selling for in this city. It's 250. And see, where you buy a house at for 250 in this city is in a really good neighborhood, really good areas. Houses where you find houses for 250, they're in really good neighborhoods in this city. But this 130 for the area that it's in, this is a really good area. This is a really good price for the area. There are more houses in this area as well, in this neighborhood, that are selling. Some houses are selling for 250 actually in this neighborhood. Where this house is in this neighborhood, it's more on the side of the 2-bed, like I said, it's a 2-bed, 1-bath, and it's on that side of this neighborhood. This neighborhood probably stretches from, it's like several blocks, several city blocks. It's several streets long. There's probably about 10 or 12 streets that go into this neighborhood. And there's a main road. So there's a main road that goes down here. And this neighborhood, this whole, big neighborhood is like right here. And this is the main road here. So main road here. And there's several streets going this way like this. And there's several more. And all the houses are like right here. They're right here on this side of the street, and so on. So these are the houses. And, it's a pretty big neighborhood. It's a big neighborhood. The houses there, there's all types of houses here, bungalows and ranch style houses. There's an eclectic mix of housing types in this neighborhood, and it looks really cool. There's some apartments here. There's another road that goes this way, and there's some apartments here. I'm really familiar with this neighborhood. It was one of the neighborhoods that early on in my career as a wholesaler, I found out during my, when I began, that this was one of like the best neighborhoods in this city. And it is. I got a call a couple years ago from a guy who wanted to sell his house. His house was like on one of these streets here, and it was like right in the middle here. And it was a 2-bed, 1-bath as well. And he wanted, at the time, this was in like 2023 or 2022. Yeah, 2023 or 2022. and he wanted like 113,000 for his house. And this house was in okay condition. He had a renter in there, and this was a 2 bed 2 bath, and usually in this city a 2 bed 2 bath, you can buy one for like 30, 40, $50,000. You know what I'm saying? And that's usually what I was used to buying. I mean, that's usually what I was used to getting, 2 bed 1 bath houses on the contract for 30, 40, $50,000. So when that guy called me, a couple years ago about his house in this neighborhood, and he said he wanted 113 or whatever he wanted, 113,000 or something like that. I kind of like brushed it off as oh, he wants too much. He wants too much. But I did not realize that this neighborhood was a really, really great neighborhood. It still is. It's a great neighborhood. And he was right to ask for as much as he asked for. The price didn't work for me, but a landlord would have loved to buy his house, because his house is probably worth 140 right now, 140, 150 now. And that was 2023, when I got a call from that guy, and he wanted 113,000 or something like that. His house is probably worth 150 now. I didn't realize that at the time. I was so focused on wholesaling and everything. I could have bought something back in 2023, 2022. I had the money. I could have bought something. But I didn't really think about appreciation. You know what I'm saying? That's one of the things I did not think about. That was an appreciation play with that guy's house. It was one of those types of deals where they're kind of unconventional. You when you get started in real estate investing, doing bird dogging and wholesaling, you really don't think about flipping with appreciation in mind, like buying a house and then holding it until it appreciates and then selling it. Neighborhoods that have a high appreciation rate, like this neighborhood, I think this neighborhood has like a 7.5% appreciation rate because it's so great. It's a great neighborhood. It's by, it's in a good area. The schools there are okay. So, there's a 7.5 appreciation rate in this neighborhood, I believe, 7.5 to 10, 7.5 to 10% appreciation. So it's a high appreciation rate. So you can buy a property in this neighborhood and just hold it, and just sit on it, and you can make money that way, But I didn't realize that I passed on that guy's house, the guy that wanted 113,000. I passed on his house because I like, oh, he wants too much. He's delusional. That's what I kind of thought, during that time. And I mean, look, I was 6 or 7 years in investing, 5, 6, 7 years in. And, I was thinking that I knew everything, but I missed that, and now in hindsight, I'm like, dang, man, you thought you were so smart, but you weren't. You got to keep learning. And so you missed out on that. That could have been a play for some, one of your cash buyers, on your list. It could have been a play. They could have held it because people know, people who invest in this city and in this neighborhood. I know investors who invest in this neighborhood. They would love to. They know that, they would have known that. I didn't know it, but I should have presented it to them. But I was just thinking about price. I was just thinking about in the past when I have dealt with 2 bedroom, 1 bath houses, how cheap they were. So I was comparing how cheap those houses were to what this guy wanted. I was like, oh, this guy's crazy. But he was asking for the right price. He was asking for a fair price because it was fair because you as an investor, you could have purchased the house and then held on to it for a couple of years. It's 2026 now. If you would have bought that house then, now you would have gained $40,000 in equity or something like that, $35,000 in equity, which isn't bad because you're renting the house the whole time. And remember, this area is a great area, so you're going to get a renter there. So you rent the house the whole time while you're waiting, and then then you sell it. Right now you can probably get, that whoever would have bought that house, or if someone did buy that house from that guy, Like I said, they can sell it today and get 150, $160,000 for this house. Um, plus all the rent that they got. You know what I'm saying? So I missed out on that deal, but this house is, I forgot where it's at exactly. It's kind of like it's on a corner of one there. So, and also I forgot to mention this. There's some streets that go this way as well. So I think this house is on this street here, close to the same street this other house was on. Maybe not. Maybe it's on a street over or something like that. But it's on a corner lot here, and it looks beautiful. I looked at it online. It looks beautiful. It's a nice little. It's 1,100 square feet. That's another thing that I was like blown away about. It's 1,100 square feet, and it's a two bed, one bath. So you could probably put another bathroom in there and turn it to a two bed, two bath. I mean, that would be better than a two bed, one bath. It'd be better. Maybe a half a bath. Say maybe something, maybe a 1.5. You can probably do that. You got enough square footage here, man. Look at this. That's some great square footage there. So the lady, I wrote out all of this to say that this guy that offered the $40,000, he's an idiot, but he's out of town. He's probably a virtual wholesaler. He's an idiot. He's out of town. He's just looking at this thing on the internet, and that's it. But see, these virtual wholesaler guys, they make it, or guys and girls, they make it so easy for local investors like myself because, instead of calling this guy back, so he insulted them. The first time this person talked to this seller, he insulted her. So she never wanted to talk to this person again. You know, um, they're doing this back of the napkin math, and they're just saying, oh, will you take 40K, just throwing stuff out there because they know that they would never see the seller again. Virtual wholesaling is so crazy. You never see the sellers, and it works for them. It works for them. And people, people these days, they want to make money easily as possible. So, the idea of just sitting at home, and sometimes that works for me, but I'm always willing to go see the seller and the property. I'm always willing. Sometimes when I bird dog in the past, when I have bird dog properties to other investors, sometimes I'm just sitting in my house doing the whole deal. I'm just doing it from my home. But I love to go see the property. I love to go show my face, what I'm saying? Because I'm a local investor. And I need the reputation, for my business. I need people to see my face. And anyway, I like it like that because people recommend you when they know you are a real person, and they see you, and you're really in it, and you're not just sitting at home trying to do all this stuff, from the comfort of your home. You're really out there and getting into the business, and you're getting out there and you're doing whatever you need to do, showing your face, and uh, you know, just really getting all the way into the business. You know what I mean? And that you can't really do that sitting at the house trying to hide from people. You got to get out there. So this guy offered her $40,000. Look, he missed out on this deal. You know what I'm saying? Because he's out of town and he doesn't know the area. These virtual wholesaler people, they don't know the area. They don't know nothing about the area. This guy did not know that this neighborhood was such a great neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? They're just looking at sheets and numbers, and they just looking at everything on the internet, but they do not know this area like I know it. They don't understand it. Maybe they missed the appreciation play here. Maybe they're not looking at it like I'm looking at it. I've dealt with some of these virtual wholesalers before, and one guy, he was telling me how he does his business, and he had like a spreadsheet, and like houses were lit up in green that met a certain criteria. It's like, they were, if they were held by the owner for a certain amount of years, and that would signify that that owner has a lot of equity in the property. So to that virtual wholesaler, that means that he could offer this person a lowball offer and have a greater chance of getting there and getting his and have a greater chance of getting his lowball offer accepted, which is true. If he goes through and calls, because he's doing cold calling. If he goes through, because all these guys, I mean, they're all kind of doing cold calling as well, and they do direct mail as well. But for the most part, the virtual wholesalers that I have ran into and spoke to, they're doing cold calling. So if these guys call like 50 people a day and give 50 people a lowball offer, they're going to get cussed out by 49 of them, but one person might, accept it. A person that's, down bad, down on their luck, in a bad state, stressed, need money, they may accept it. So what they do is these virtual wholesalers, they try to work with the person who is in the area. So they find people to work with in the area and other investors, and they send people there to the house to do the deal and everything. So you're working with, you'll be probably working with 2 or 3 people, working with these virtual wholesalers. The guy on the phone, or girl on the phone, and then the person that comes to your house. So the person that comes to your house is not the person that you talk to on the phone. And so there's kind of a disconnect there. And, some people may say that you're looking too much into this, but this is really a rub shoulders with, this is a friendly, this is a I need to see your face type of business. You need to rub shoulders with these people, so they can trust you, what I'm saying? So you can get a good deal, you know what I mean? Sometimes you can get a house at a certain price, but if depending on how you are, your character, how nice you are, respectful you are, sometimes you can get a lower price, you can get a lower price if you know how to negotiate. You have to learn how to negotiate, but being nice and being visible, it will help you out in deals. So that has helped me out in plenty of deals, where I had the house at a certain price, but then the people liked me so much, when I asked for a lower price, they were like, oh, okay, you're a great guy. And they just give me the price that I want. You know what I mean? But, if you're distant, if they haven't seen you and, they don't know who you are, you one of these people, you got an out of town number, and, you may be nice or whatever and kind of slick over the phone, but they still don't know you. They don't know you. You're not a real person to them. So this guy offered her 40K, and he's an idiot. So she did not want anything to do with a 40K offer. She did not want, she told me, she said, a guy offered me 40K and I'll be damned if I take 40K for this house. I haven't been living under a rock for the last 50 years. She said, that's what she told me. So she said, so this guy would never get her business. She has 6 to 7 other properties that she says that she wants to sell. This idiot came in and offered her this crazy lowball number because he doesn't know the area. These virtual wholesaler people, they looking at numbers, don't know the area because they're not here. They're not here. So he's an idiot. She has 6 to 7 other properties. So, if this deal doesn't work for me, I'm going to, ask her about these other properties to see, if she has something else that works. And I told her that on the phone today. I was like, if this doesn't work for me, I'll look into it. And if it doesn't work for me, I want to look at your other properties and see if you have anything else that I would be interested in. And she was like, okay. But like I said, this property will sell for probably about 140, 130, 140, 150, somewhere around in there. I haven't looked it up yet, but I plan on doing that tomorrow. They're going to send me some pictures of the inside of the house. And, I would love to buy this house at 70,000. Oh my gosh, bro. If I could get this house for 70K, it would get, I already did the math. It would get, if I were to rent this house, and I still don't know what to do with this house. If I do get it at 70, I'm going to buy it, myself. So I'm going to buy this for myself if I can get it at 70. Now, the seller told me that she saw how much the property is worth online. So she saw this number on Zillow and realtor.com. So she mentioned that to me. And I hate it when sellers mention that to me because it makes that where they need to be. You know what I'm saying? That's probably where she wants to be, around 130, somewhere around there. Maybe she'll take 100,000 or something like that. But see, 100,000 wouldn't work. You know, that wouldn't work. And look, you can do the appreciation play. You know, that will work for somebody else, but it wouldn't work for me. I want to buy something. You know, I want to buy something for myself, and that wouldn't work for me. You know, buying the house at 100,000, that wouldn't work. You know, I don't want to sit on it and wait. You know, I want to be able to buy it and have money in the house the day I buy it. So I want to buy it for 70, you know, because I need less risk. I'm working with a HELOC. I got $150,000. I have a HELOC that's $150,000. So this is my house money. You know, this is the equity in my house that I'm playing with. So I have to have less risk. Now, holding on to this, buying it for 100K, if she wanted 100,000 for it, buying it and holding on to it, that is a play because, like I said, this is a great neighborhood. So, you know, that is a play, and it works for a certain type of investor, but not for me right now. You know, if I had $100,000 that I was just sitting on, that I could just deploy into this house and just wait, you know, 3 or 4 years and then sell it and make, you know, 50K on that. If I had that to just do that with, I would probably do that. You know, in this case, I would probably do that, but I don't have that. I'm working with my, like I said, I'm working with my house money. I had to be really careful with this, you know, because this would, you know, this would put me, you know, this would put me out of my house. So I got to be really careful. I need I need a safety net. So I would love to buy this house at 70K. And I did the math. If I were to rent this house, buy it at 70K and rent it out, I would get a 25% return on my money. By putting, you know, because if I buy it for 14, that means I'm putting 14. If I buy it for 70K, that means I'm putting 14,000 down, cash, which I would do cash. I wouldn't even do the HELOC. I would put this down cash, and then I would have a loan for 56 or something. I think it's 56. Yeah, 56K. So I have a loan for 56K. And I think the loan payment on that would be like $377 per month. And then plus all the expenses, I think it was $700 something. And this house will rent for $1,000. And so I would have, you know, 1,000 minus the 700 in expenses. I would have $300 per month coming in, which that would turn into 3,600 for the year, and then 3,600 over 14,000 would be, let's get the calculator out. Let's see. It'd be around a 25% return, like I said up here. It'll be around that. So 36 on 14,000. It'd be a 25% return, like I just said. So 25% return. You know, that's assuming that the house doesn't need anything, you know, because if you have to put a little bit of money into it to get it to, I mean, there's a renter in there right now. So it's in livable condition, you know what I'm saying? It's in livable condition. I could buy it with the renter in there. But you know, that will make it worth more because you got a seasoned, renter in there. You know, she could ask for more. She could, you know, and rightfully so, you know, she could ask for more. She could be like, oh, you know, I already have a renter in there, you know, and that renter has probably been in there for the last few years. You know, if this renter has been in there for the last 10 years or whatever. And see, that's another concerning thing. A lot of these older landlords, you know, the way they did landlording back in the day, you know, it was really cute. But see, these older landlords, what I find out with them is they don't raise the rents. They don't raise the rents like every year. They don't really get their tenants used to having a higher rent every year, which they should. You have to train your tenants to expect the rent to go up every year. It's kind of cute having it at one set price. Like I remember one time an older landlord had their rent at $500 for the last 20 years or something like that. 10, 15, 20 years. Let's just say 15. They had their rent at $500 for the last 15 years. And their renter stayed in there the entire time. But as far as like more money, their bottom line, the landlord, their bottom line just stayed the same. And they don't even think about inflation or anything like that. They just keep the rent low. They're like, oh yeah, this landlord that I'm talking about, this was his logic. He was like, oh yeah, you keep the rent low, then the tenant stays in there for a long time, and then you got a for sure tenant. And that's true, because vacancy and all that will eat up your profits. You know what I'm saying? Vacancies will eat up your profits. So that is a concern. But I mean, raising the rent, $25 a year, or maybe, $10 a year or something like that, you have to get these people used to it. So, if you buy this property and this seller has had the rent at like $800 for the last 10 years, when you buy the property with the renter in there and you start raising the rents, that rent is going to become a problem, because they'll be like, I've been living here for the last 10 years and I have never had to pay more than $800 per month, and it could be an issue. They could, seek somewhere else to live. And then now you got to deal with a vacancy. But, good thing that this house is in a great neighborhood and people want to live here. So it shouldn't be a problem getting the house re-rented quickly. But, I don't know what I'm going to do about that. I don't know if I'm even going to rent it, because if I get it for 70 and I can sell it for 130, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to do the flip myself. So I'm going to go in there and I'm going to, if I can buy it at 70, I'm going to call a few cash buyers that I know, investors that I've been working with over the years, and get some recommendations for some contractors. And see if I can get in there and do some cosmetic things. I'm saying? I have to wait and get the pictures of the inside of the property first before I can. I'm just really excited. But sometimes I get excited like this, and then I get the pictures of the house and the inside, and it looks like crap. So I'm hoping that it doesn't look like crap. The seller said that she has kept this property in good condition since she's been owning it, and it's hard to believe because she's 90 years old. But maybe she got people working for her. Like this person that she had me talking to today. But hopefully it doesn't look too bad in there. And if it doesn't, then I can buy it and just flip the house. Maybe I can buy it and just do some cosmetic things, flooring and maybe repaint it. Not myself. I'm gonna have to hire out some labor, but doing some, cheap, but respectful updates to the house. Things that will bring me back some value. I can get my money back and then some, off these investments, and putting a new coat of paint on the walls, and maybe putting more, new fixtures in the house and all that. It already has central heat and air, and that's great. That's great. Central AC, that's great. That lets me know that she's a great landlord, because a lot of landlords in this city, they don't have central heat and air. They just have these window units. This is an older city, but it's just crazy that they don't want to upgrade. But see, that's what I'm saying. People do just like what that landlord I told you that kept his rent at $500 a month for the last, 15 years. They just sit there and they just collect that rent, and then they just do that. They do that because they end up, not managing their money right. So they're depending on that $500 a month coming in. And they don't even want to do any updates to the house or add a central AC unit in there. They don't want to do nothing because they're, like I said, they're probably spending the money. You're supposed to have money that you got coming in from rent going into a separate bank account other than your personal bank account, somewhere separate. And then you can take some out of that if you want. But, you're supposed to have your rents going into a separate bank, its own business bank account. And that bank account is for the business. It's to reinvest money back into the property to make you more money. It's a business, bro. It's a business. It's an asset. It's not your personal income. This is the business's income. And then you can take some because you're the owner. You can take some of the money out, and have a good time. But you have to have it going. See, that's what people get messed up at. That's what these landlords get messed up at. They have the rent going into their personal bank accounts, and they just spend it on whatever. They go buy a boat and they go on a vacation and they just spend it. They just spend it, and then they pay their rent with it. They pay their mortgage with it, and all of that, all their personal things. But it's really supposed to be for the property. So, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Man, I wish I could buy her for 70, but I have a feeling that she's going to want something. I don't know. We're going to wait and see. We're going to wait and see what happens. But, whatever does happen, I am going to document it so you'll be able to see everything, how this unfolds. Maybe I might pass on it. I might not. But if I don't, I really want to go see the property. When they send me the pictures of the inside, then it'll let me know whether or not if I need to go see this property or not. So I'm gonna go see it, and then when I do see it, I'm going to I'm going to record a video there of the property so you can see it as well. So this will be if I do get a chance to go see this property, it'll be my second one this year that I have went and saw. But if you want to learn how I do direct mail, because I'm getting these leads in, and if you want to learn how I do it, then you need to look in the description and get my course and, take it, go through it, learn from it, get my method, and you can be getting these leads in just like I'm getting them in. I just did a video yesterday about leads, and I was saying, like, if you get 7 leads come in, you're probably going to close. You're probably not going to close on the first 6, but that 7th one, you're probably going to close on it. And that's kind of how it's been going for me. Every third house that I see, every third lead that I get, I mean, it doesn't just automatically happen like that. But usually every third house that I see, every third lead that I get is something that's like right there, is teetering on. Is it a deal? It may be a deal. It might be a deal. Like this one is one of these ones. This is my second lead of the year, and it's already like, I can probably make a deal out of this, man, because look at everything. Look at this. This lady is 90 years old. She wants to get rid of this thing. This thing is a problem. It's a job for her. She's getting ready to pass on, and she knows that. These people know that. They know that they're getting ready to die, and they don't want to leave this job with people in their family, because she may feel like that this person that she had me talking to today, her relative, is not up for the job. They may not be up for the job, and she wants to capitalize on her profit while she's still alive. You know what I'm saying? Because I think she said she's living in assisted living right now. She wants to capitalize on her profit while she's still alive. She just doesn't want to pass this down to anyone. Sometimes people, they don't have people that they want to take over their property. They want to realize their profit themselves, So, I'll keep you updated, and you'll be able to see this thing all the way through. If it does become something, don't be surprised if it turns into nothing, and if it turns into a dud, because if she wants 130, I can't do nothing with that. I can't do nothing with that. I don't want to buy nothing at the top of the market. Not for where I am. I might bird dog it to someone. I got a couple people in mind that I want to see this property. They may be interested because this neighborhood is such a great neighborhood. So I might bird dog it, and I'll walk you through that, if I do that. But I'll talk to you next time.